Hey everybody, Dutchsinse here. 4:27 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, May 23rd, 2013. And we're looking at Earthquake 3D here, which is a USGS feed of the most recent earthquakes. And you can see it, this movement continues down here in Tonga. 7.4 magnitude and now 6.5 magnitude struck a few hundred miles apart today. And that is very sizable for the region. The depth on these is somewhat deep, roughly around 100 miles. Let's go ahead and get the stats for the 7.4 first. And this is from the USGS. Here we go, 106.5 miles deep. And the other earthquake is roughly in the same depth, just a little bit more shallow, by about 25 miles. So when you see that movement, let me go ahead and show you the movement over the last 7 days. Okay, we've had 7 6.0 or greater earthquakes in the last 7 days. Now normally we're seeing about 3 every 7 days. So this is a slight uptick, double what we would normally see in the normal 7-day period. So we have a 6.0 in Japan, multiple 6.0s striking here at the Kamchatka, Kuril Islands, Russia region. Also a 6.5 off the coast of Chile. And then of course the movement here, 7.4 and 6.5 at Tonga. Overall, it's a lot to see. And let's go ahead and turn this down to 5.0 and greater, and then you really begin to see the unrest that's occurred. When you see the movement here at Kamchatka, Russia, okay, that's a volcano, a known volcanic region. Also Tonga, known volcanic region. And that's again over the last 7 days, 5.0 and greater. Let's just take that. There we go. This is 5.0 and greater. All right, now let's look at the United States just really quick, and we'll end this little update here. We had multiple earthquakes along the edge of the North American craton this past week. So we had 4.0 movement up here in Canada, right near Ottawa, and then going southwest down here to Arkansas, multiple earthquakes at a large fracking operation, and then multiple earthquakes at the Oklahoma fracking operations, earthquake at the Colorado fracking operations. And in case you're doubting this at all, wondering how do we know it's fracking, you can go look up these earthquakes and see what's directly at the epicenters. I've already done that, put it on my blog, put multiple screenshots of the different earthquakes that have occurred and what's at the epicenter. So for instance, you can definitely tell this is a huge frac well operation. I got tired of doing place marks. There's so many more. It goes off in all directions. You have a bunch of little square pads. You zoom in on the square pads and here's your frac well. All right, so 3.5 there, that's just one of many. That's Arkansas. And you can come over to my website. I'll put a link down below so you guys can check this stuff out if you're interested in it. Not many people even share this information. Only a handful of people even care about it. Got 100 people maybe that actually share the information on a daily basis when there's an earthquake fracking wise. It's hard to pique interest on that. We had a huge amount of weather modification take place, which we won't touch on here, but that is kind of strange too, that we saw earthquakes happening in the same regions that this weather modification was taking place over the past couple days. So Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, smaller earthquakes. Come back to the United States here, and you see up here in the Pacific Northwest, near Yellowstone. This is Montana now, right across from Yellowstone, and this is documented on my website as well. Just come on, scroll down below all the weather mod posts, and you'll see the dormant volcano post here. So when you see the map here, here's Yellowstone. They've had a series of earthquakes over the last month and a half. Largest of which I think was a 4.4 down here somewhere, which is not marked on this screenshot here. But we do have dormant volcanoes to the east, and just to the south here, out of the shot here, down here south of 15, you have 2 volcanoes, Hell's Half Acre and Craters of the Moon. So that's a lot of movement to see at a dormant volcanic chain, especially Yellowstone. When you see that kind of movement happening at Yellowstone, and then you see the fracking earthquakes happening, and then you see the stress transfer across the North American plate to the northeast up here in Canada. So it's pretty interesting to see that happen this past week. Overall, take a look at the last 7 days of earthquakes. This is 2.5 and greater in the United States, 4.0 and greater internationally. So US showing the movement across the North American plate, all the way down the East Pacific, going down to Chile. You saw a series of earthquakes, dead spot in mid-Chile, and then look what's happening. It's starting to spread to the west, okay, out here into the mid-Pacific plate, and you can turn these rings off if you have Earthquake 3D, and you can see the fault lines that these are associated with going out into the ocean. Turn the rings back on. That shows you approximate size of the earthquakes, and then you can see all the way down here to the South Pole, south of New Zealand. Literally, the whole area has moved. Again, this past week on a 4.0 or greater basis, earthquakes around the entire Ring of Fire. There isn't one spot that's been missed now, even off the west coast at the lava fields here, a couple 3 and 4.0 earthquakes that struck over this past week. Kamchatka, Russia, Kuril Islands, watch out. That movement has not stopped yet, and it's standing out and above all the rest. And then the areas around there need to watch. That would mean Japan, even further south to Taiwan here. Okay, so that's right here where my mouse is. Going west across into Europe, again, cluster points. You can see Saudi Arabia, Iran, going right down through North India and China, and then going west into Europe, where, of all places, Algeria, here along Greece, going south into the Mediterranean Sea, a series of 4 and 5.0 earthquakes that struck, which means we need to watch up here in North Europe now. Let's say Poland going over west to the Netherlands again. Anywhere in this region here needs to watch for that 4.0 movement in the next week to 2 weeks as this movement continues. And this large-scale movement in the West Pacific means we need to additionally watch for the next 2 weeks around the Ring of Fire, and specifically the cluster points. So you don't have to watch everywhere, but areas where we're seeing 4.0 movement, okay, multiple 4.0s here, right? We need to watch off the northwest coast of the United States for possible larger movement, and then continuing south through Mexico, where we had multiple 7.0s strike over and even an 8.0 strike over the last year and a half in south central Mexico. You had Popo erupt a week and a half ago, and then we are also seeing volcanoes erupt out to sea, and that's off the shore of the United States, and going west into the West Pacific. Multiple reports of large eruptions. I think Pavlov up in Alaska and a few others started to pop off this week. And this is just looking at Earthquake 3D, folks. If you guys are really curious, you can come over to my YouTube page or go to my blog. Either one has it. We've got links to all the earthquake monitoring sites, and you can come over and go through the charts. To go through the charts, let's just do one really quick here. Let's go check Yellowstone, for instance. All right. You can see a lot of smaller earthquakes that'll pop up on these. This is laid out across the entire park. You'll see the 7.0 here. It's going to show around the entire planet on every chart when you get an earthquake that large. So here's the 7.0 movement that was recorded at Yellowstone. But if you look at some of the other charts here, like Mammoth Fault, for instance, a series of smaller earthquakes. Okay, this is not internationally. This is going to be something that's happening in the park region itself. So that's a sign that the area is moving. That means we need to watch Yellowstone, for instance, for more seismic activity in the near term. These aren't going to be showing on the map. They're not marking these. These are just on the charts only, okay? Go back up here to the top. If you come up to the links, always make sure to go on and check the Siri charts. This is the Midwest U.S., this is New Madrid seismic zone, Wabash Valley seismic zone, and the other nodes that they've put out across the U.S., usually managed by colleges, sometimes managed by the USGS or ANSS. Let's go look at the temporary charts here, and this will show you Bayou Corn, right? Everybody's kind of just putting Bayou Corn off to the side, kind of forgetting about it. It's something we do need to continue to watch for further movement, and they've had further collapses happening there. If you don't know about Bayou Corn, I suggest you guys go look it up. It's an area down here, right along the shores. There's a collapsed salt dome cavern that's continuing to collapse. It's continuing to grow. Now, I believe that's happening because of the rest of the movement along the edge of the North American plate, which roughly starts up here in the Pacific Northwest, extends down through Texas, and then curves back up here, right to where the earthquakes are happening northeast. And I've documented that on my website as well. If you guys come over to my website, I put craton diagrams on here. I've really tried to do my best to show you guys what's been happening. Let me just scroll down and we'll show that to you. Okay, here's the North American craton. Here's the dormant volcanoes that I was talking about having earthquakes. Here's the fracking operations, and then here's the Northeast. Compare the two. Okay? So it's obvious. The North American craton is being pushed, and it's being pushed from the west, not from the east. We're normally taught that the mid-Atlantic rise spreads and displaces the craton from the east. However, the subduction zone here, I don't think, is able to keep up with the movement happening here to the west on the whole plate here, and that's causing a spillover effect that's building at weak points first. So the weak spots, the fracking operations, the mines, the dormant volcanoes, and of course the fault lines along the edge of the craton are starting to show that stress. Okay? Hang in there, folks. Much love. Have an earthquake plan ready and be prepared. Also, severe weather. I didn't even get a touch on that, but always have a severe weather and earthquake plan ready just in case. Even if you don't normally live in a seismically prone area, just have one ready. Make sure that your friends, family, loved ones, coworkers know it, have it in the back of their head what to do in case something strikes. Okay? Much love. Be safe.